Guys, good to see you tonight. Thanks for joining us for Tech Tuesday. Thank you for joining us. You've had an incredibly busy schedule this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a long one for you tonight, but we got some good questions and some interesting scenarios that all of you can learn from. Before we get into those, I want to share with you, is it a discovery or not a discovery? A little comparison of the 2025 interior versus the 2026 interior. New discovery or not when it comes to the 2026 versus the 2025 Corvette interior. Hey guys, it come to my attention that folks, this is a 26, we'll come back to this. It come to my attention that folks are concerned that in 2026 with the interior changes that we lost something else that maybe nobody's talking about. Let's look at the 2025. Let's do some measurements for you guys and we'll see if you're right. I don't think so, but I can understand why you're thinking that. Here's a 2025. You look at the mode selector all the way up in here. Here's your wall of buttons. The wall is still there, but now it incorporates an open grab handle and a USB-C over here. So we'll look at that in the 26 in just a moment. Of course, the closed cup holders that everybody loves. But if you look at where the mode selector ends here to where the center console starts right there, that's about 9 inches. People are concerned with all this shifting downward. Did we lose space in the center console? Let's open this up and see how big this is. Let's do a quick measure. Yeah, just let's call it 7.5 inches there. And this does look the same as it does in the 2026s, but here the perception would be that we lost some area here. Let's go check it out. At the time of filming, we're moving cars, putting them inside, getting ready for this winter storm that is going to hit most of the nation. And then after the storm gets through here, we get cleaned up, we get the cars back on the lot. Guess what happens then? Yeah, that's right. Vet season. I know everybody's already in a buying mindset. They're thinking spring, that's great. So here's your mode selector moved way up in here at the end of the mode selector, the whole shifter and all that. So you go from here to here, the very tip again, I'm looking there, is about 3 inches. So that's a 6-inch difference, but is it different here in the center console? I don't think so. And no, surprisingly, that remains the same at 7.5 inches. See what I mean? This is still here, open grab handle here, so this is not bad. New charging pad, HVAC controls are here now rather than here in case you missed that. And the change, that's a big change from 25 to 2026. And there are your open cup holders. I mean, they look nice, but how the heck are you going to clean that Corvette emblem down in there? And welcome back to Tech Tuesday. Here we go. What do you got for us, Chuck?
All right, first one I've got, it says, okay, Chuck and Rick, can a DIYer change their own DCT fluid without doing the hydraulic system flush? Are we talking about the DCT filter or just the fluid? If it's just the fluid, you don't do that hydraulic system flush, just changing out the fluid. If you're talking about changing the filter, GM recommends every time you replace that filter that you do a system flush. It takes all the fluid, runs it through that filter to clean the fluid before you change the filter. So,
okay.
I mean, can you do it? Yes. I guess should you do it? Probably not, but not without doing the hydraulic flush. So,
well, everybody's seeing, including myself, the costs to do the services on this car. So we're trying to find a way to circumvent that the best we can. Even to the point where when you have to rack the car, you have to take half of the back of the car apart to get to this stuff. There's guys, and I think we have one coming that we'll share with you guys in the future. There's guys that are making their own little doors rather than have to take all that stuff apart, so you can just flip that door down and get to the DCT filter, and it makes it a heck of a lot easier.
As expensive as you guys think it is, which I'm not saying it isn't,
right?
Go have your Porsche or Ferrari serviced.
Well, okay.
Tell me what that bill is.
I told him just to say whatever, so there you go, that's whatever.
Yeah.
Here's a quick follow-up to a guy that sent us a great email we shared last week on the show. And this email actually was about his car and an issue that he had with the car, besides a great email that we shared with his dad. Rick, this is from Richard. He says, Rick, I bought my first Vet. It's a 26 Z06. I recently just finished breaking it in. Well, part of the break-in, he goes, I currently have 523 miles on it. The second and the real break-in is 1,500 miles. I was under the car today installing lifting blocks and noticed coolant dropping from the undercarriage. So he'd sent us a follow-up email, and he says, by the way, I took it into the dealership, and it ended up being a loose hose clamp. Have you seen any of that?
I've had one, yes. Actually, we ended up buying the car back because the guy was afraid to keep it. because it had a coolant leak. But yeah,
I
they
remember that one.
Yeah.
It was like a 25-cent part.
Yes.
It was literally.
It wasn't even a part. All I had to do was re-secure it. It didn't get tightened at the factory when it left the factory.
But where it was so difficult to find it and get to it.
Yes, it was clear up against a firewall right behind the driver's seat, and I had like this much space to try to get up in there and work where all the radiator hoses and things were. And it took a while for me to figure out where it was coming from, because it would not leak just sitting here under pressure. You actually had to take the car and get it hot,
right,
and then pressure test it. Then it would leak.
Wow. And that was a convertible too, if I remember correctly, which made it a little bit more difficult.
Oh yeah,
to get to it.
Yeah, it was it was not fun, but
well, hopefully that doesn't happen to anybody else out there. Thanks for joining us tonight. We do, in case you haven't been here before, at the end of the show, we have a thing that's called Your Beautiful Rides, that we feature some great looking Corvettes from all over the place. If you have a question for Tech Tuesday, or you want to send in your ride, use the email address that's up on the screen. And if you're going to do a ride segment, just put your first name and the state that you're from.
All right, this one's, I think, is for you. It says, "Good morning, Mr. Conti. Thank you for everything you and Chuck do. A great job informing us about this car, and along with Tech Tuesday are a good thing. My name is Nick from Staten Island. I have a quick question that might be good for Tech Tuesday. I was just wondering, if you have a mag ride and you're in the canyons or on the track, what's your preferred setting for the shocks? Stiff, not stiff? I'm just curious."
It's actually two type of questions. So if you're driving through roads and canyons, a couple of ideas that I would have there, depending on the road conditions, would determine what setting. Obviously, right away you hear, oh, if he's making a lot of twisties, you want to be in a tighter suspension, sport or track.
Right.
I always tell guys track is for the track. It really is heavier.
Yeah.
For the instance where he's on some twisty canyon roads, if you're in track, not knowing the road conditions, potholes, bumps, whatever, you could be doing a pretty spirited turn and hit one of those bumps, and because you're in the track setting, the car could hop and actually cause an accident. So I say track is for the track. You could do sport and give you a little bit more tighter settings, or you can take your C8 and go into my mode. Keep your suspension in touring, but actually turn your steering to track, so you have a tighter steering, and that might make that a little bit more fun, but a little bit safer for you too. But on the track, right now, I always go in track mode. I use the PTM setting because of magnetic ride, and I usually go to PTM Sport is where I run most of the time, because when you get into the higher levels, you've got to have more experience. You have a little bit of help, but you really have less help. You really need to know what you're doing. So I like to have somebody say, no, you stay right here.
I agree 100% though. Track is for track only.
No, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. But and I hear people will say that when they take delivery. Oh, I can't wait to put a track mode. You're going to drive a track mode around Columbus? You see all the potholes and the crap on the roads? Oh my gosh. And that gives you more of a chance of damaging the car, damaging a rim, that kind of stuff. So no sir. Track, I think is easy. Track is for track.
Sure, just like there's some equipment that goes on for track purposes only, and then you take it off before you leave the track.
Duct works and that kind of stuff. Oh,
sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for watching, Nick. Appreciate it.
All right, this one comes from Paul. It says, "Hello, Rick. Thanks for all the content over the years. I've really enjoyed from the beginning of your journey. I do have a question in regards to my 2018 Grand Sport that has a reoccurring problem with the drivetrain torsion tube."
This is a good one, guys. You're going to be shocked.
Yeah,
you told me the answer to this before the show. Wow, listen to this, guys.
It continually starts up and pulls away and requires replacement. I've had a total of 4 replacements. He's talking about the drive tube by the dealer since I've owned the Corvette. It only has 13,000 miles on it. So with every oil change, it seems like I have to do a torsion tube kit replacement. Extremely expensive and annoying.
Right.
Do you know what might be causing this issue and what I can do to prevent it from continuing to occur? I have one idea because I had one. The thrust bearing's probably knocked out of the motor. Not enough where it's going to cause an issue, but it's probably the crankshaft moving back and forth, and that's what's beating that front bearing out of the drive tube. So the next time, before I just let them put a new drive tube in it and send you back down the road, they need to take a measurement of the crankshaft end play. I guarantee you'll almost find that the end play is too great. And that you have to pull the motor, pull the crankshaft, put a new thrust bearing in it, reassemble it, put it all back together. Yeah, but I have had one, yes.
Yeah, 4 and 13,000 miles?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
So it's not because they're a bad drive tube. Something's knocking it out.
Okay.
And the only thing that can be knocking that bearing out, in my mind, because I've had one, and there's actually a bulletin that covers this, is the thrust bearings wearing inside the engine, letting the crankshaft walk back and forth.
Right.
Too much in play.
Who's that from again?
It is from Paul.
All right, Paul, hope that helps you, man. Thanks for watching the channel. Thanks for sending that in. And I know we don't get many C7 questions anymore. We try to. It's up. We share with what you guys send us. So it's like, you're always going to talk about the DCT. Yeah, that's all you guys send us. But it's nice to see some C7 questions. I hope that there's other guys out there, maybe they had that situation, and maybe that helps you as well. So again, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that bell notification. Here's one that is just shocking to me, and I'm glad that that he sent this and shared this with us, and this will help other people, because we do, you know, I always have in my entire career, 31 years, most of the sales I do go out of state.
Sure.
So they're all over the country. So this is very pertinent to not only myself, but so many of you, because many of you now are accustomed to buying cars beyond your local dealership. This comes from Michael. Says, Rick, I know you're busy. Want to reach out on a couple of things. I got a question for you and Chuck. I watch all the videos. I can't see if this issue's ever been addressed. I've got a 24 Z06, 7,500 miles. I live in New York, but I bought the car in Rhode Island. I called my local dealer, Chevrolet of Smithtown, to have my service appointment for my first DCT oil change. Now listen to this. The service advisor went out to tell me that that service, the first free service from Chevrolet, is not included because they didn't buy the car from them. That he'd have to go back to Rhode Island to the selling dealership to claim that first service. That's exactly what the guy ended up doing, and he's very disappointed and didn't understand if this is how it is supposed to be. But no, that's the great thing about buying this car all across the country. You've got such a large Chevrolet network. This was so wrong the way you were treated, and I do apologize. Yeah. You get, I mean, well, of course, it was our customer, but he drove all the way from Louisiana today to come up and see you. But most of the cars coming in here, they didn't buy from us. They're traveling. They know that we're here. I mean, that's, you know, they buy them used, wherever the case may be.
Sure. I get that buy from other Chevy dealerships that bring them here and have them serviced.
Wow.
And no, your Chevrolet warranty is your Chevrolet warranty.
That's right.
Not Coughlin's warranty, not whatever Chevrolet's warranty. That's Chevrolet's warranty that's good nationwide. So
I was shocked by that, man. Really sorry you had to do that. You actually,
I mean, we hear it all the time. Not just, I've heard it before. We don't want to do this. We didn't sell the car. Don't matter if you sold the car or not. The car's under warranty.
Well, you know, it's funny, guys will say that. Sales is sales, service is service. When you get the car service department, do you get paid to work on the car? Okay, shut up and go to work.
Right.
It's pretty simple stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Your warranty's your warranty. Good nationwide. It ain't Chevrolet store. So.
All right. You got any more for us?
Yes, I've got one here from John. It says, Tech Tuesday question. I'm shipping my 2025 C8 to Germany. It has a Z51 package, a little over 21,000 miles. I followed the maintenance for the car. The Autobahn has been amazing. Topped out the car. I've been driving pretty high speeds while enjoying Germany. For the maintenance, should I be changing the oil, DCT, and transmission fluid more often? I should already have the extra transmission fluid in the car, even though I'm not tracking it, but I'm consistently hitting speeds over 250 kilometers on commutes, aka 155 mile an hour constantly. I'll be in Germany for 9 more months. What can you tell me?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, even though you're not on a track, you're basically on a track at the Autobahn in Germany.
Doing $150.
Yeah, consistently hitting $155. So
right. Well, and he said he's got a 25, so you don't have to add the 2 additional quarts because of the new transmission casing that started in 2024. I got a 23, I have to do that. But no, in that case, he doesn't have to do that. But I'm sure all his percentages, the bells and whistles are probably going off on there, going down very fast. And I would monitor that screen rather than worry about time or mileage at that point.
Because we talk about it all the time as well. How you drive the car is going to dictate how you service the car.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Listen, one last week I said I want to share for this week because I needed to do some research. I did some research, and this dealership is telling our customer wrong. Hey, Rick and Chuck, I love Tech Tuesdays, and I do love Father Chuck. So much great information for a first-time Corvette owner as well as seasoned veterans. I've been watching for years now, and I'm so happy that you were able to get me the Z06 when other dealers promised and they couldn't deliver it. You are the best, my friend. In fact, if you want to see that delivery, we were there at the NCM for Rick picking up his Z06. That was a blast. My question is parts and service related from our local dealerships. When I picked up the car at the National Corvette Museum that you were a part of, and we just mentioned that. I noticed that the glass on the appearance package of the convertible, that engine appearance package, was scratched. At the time, I thought it was no worries. This would be an easy warranty issue. Well, it's been 6 months later, and my local guys keep telling me that the part is on back order. I apologize, Rick, that is incorrect. It is not on back order. If it was, it isn't now. It's part number 856-07873. It is more than readily available. And the panel he's talking about is that ZZ3 engine appearance package. That's the same on the Z06 for Stingray or ERAY convertibles.
Sure, the see-through.
Yeah, so you can see through it. Yeah, now the Z06, I mean, those double intakes, heck yeah, you want to see that sucker, man. I mean, you want to hear that car. I mean, that car is incredible, but yeah, I want to show that bad boy off as much as I possibly can. All right, that's all we have for you for tech. Good questions, good scenarios, crazy scenarios.
Yeah.
But this comes from you guys, so thanks for watching, thanks for engaging. Make sure you make some comments down below, and before you go, we got to show off some good-looking cars.
Your beautiful rides.
I was too young, and I didn't understand that you are no one, and I can't wait to see you Hindsight is fleeting, oh, and your heart's bleeding, and all you can see is red, till you discover it is within each other to forgive and make amends. If I had known then, or what I know now, I wouldn't have said what I said. I took the long road, thought I'd be better on my own. Sometimes what's right is wrong instead, 'cause I